how important is it for somebody to like become successful in anything, even outside of strength sport, to have that self-belief?
100%. If you can't visualize yourself achieving your goals, then you'll never achieve your goals. You know, everything starts in the mind. Like if you have to believe truly in your heart that you will achieve what you want to do, whether that's, you know, achieving the grades you want to in school, or getting to a certain level in business, or closing a deal that brings in X amount of money. If you don't believe it's going to happen, if you can't visualize that process and what it actually feels like as well, which is something that I did quite a lot, is when I'm using imagery in my mind, I'll actually see myself there competing or achieving my goal, but also focus on that feeling of how will it feel to achieve my goal, and that creates a pretty strong bond. You know, that link between the two is getting an emotional link to achieving your goal is hugely important. I think that's what drives people, you know, and if people want to achieve their goals, whatever it may be, if it's a sporting goal or whatever, then the first step is believing it themselves and in imagining themselves them achieving their goal.
So yeah, I mean, we talk about it a lot, like visualization. I don't know if you would use that terminology, but like we like really believe in almost like the smells, of when you're stood on that stage. So World's Strongest Man, obviously there's this big thing about winning World's Strongest Man. So if you could talk about that, would be amazing. But have you been there yet, like in your head, like holding that trophy?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a strange one, you know. Like my initial goal, another thing with goals, obviously, you might have the ultimate goal, but you have to break them down into shorter, more achievable goals, short term. Otherwise, you'll always be fantasizing about the end goal and not actually focus on the climbing the ladder to get to that goal. You know, if you just dream about reaching the stars but don't focus on building the rocket ship, then you're never going to get there. So, you know, my first obviously goal was to compete at World's Strongest Man in 2015, and you know, I got there and it was like crazy. You know, I was in this amazing group. You know, Big Z was walking around looking massive. Brian was in my group. Obviously Eddie had been competing as well, and yeah, I was like a fish out of water in my first year. And that's when, as soon as that finished, I was like, right, that goal's done. Now I've got to win this competition. That's the next goal. Make the next ladder. So it's like I've just kind of had to reset all my goals that I've been working towards for 5 years, because now the real work begins and I've got to start again in kind of building towards this new goal. And that's World's Strongest Man, you know. And yeah, as soon as that happened, I had that goal of being World's Strongest Man, but I couldn't really place myself there for a long time. The first time, you know, I suffered from confidence issues, in all honesty, some anxiety at certain competitions. You know, sometimes, especially at Europe's Strongest Man one time, I just didn't want to be there. I just got so nervous. And it wasn't until the World Tour final in 2018 that I actually started to believe in myself, you know. And that competition was a big breakthrough competition for me. You know, I got my first podium at an international show, and you had Kieliszkowski was first, Martins Lisses was second, then it was me. And I beat a huge stage, including kind of Big Z, Iron Bibi, all these guys, Janashia, and I won that show. I came third in that show. And the most annoying thing in my brain happened, but obviously I was there. The points are really close. We're going in, and I'm in third place, going into the stones. And in my head, I'm thinking, right, don't fuck this up, okay? Make sure you get the podium. In reality, what I should have been thinking was, right, go out there and attack and get this first place and try and go for the win. And afterwards, you know, after I got obviously I was really happy with getting that first podium. And I was like, man, I'm on the edge here of winning shows, you know? I need to now, that was the first time I could actually see myself and picture myself on the top of the podiums, both at kind of World's Strongest Man, Britain's Strongest Man, you know, Europe's, etc. That's when I could start actually seeing myself achieving it. Is after that kind of moment there of going, okay, you've done all this now you can be on like full attack mode.
So have you, in your head, have you held the trophy yet? Have you been to that place yet?
Yes, yeah. So in my head, I've seen myself on top of that podium, and you know, I've seen holding that massive trophy, etc., and everyone kind of looking at you and stuff. And I've seen that in my mind, and it's just kind of now climbing the ladder to actually achieve that.
So what does it, for a normal person, like, just explain what the World's Strongest Man title would be to somebody?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, World's Strongest Man, the title is like, you know, the gold medal at the Olympics for the 100 metres. You know, it's like lifting the World Cup in football. It's like lifting the Super Bowl in American football. You know, it's the pinnacle of our sport, and to be able to call yourself the undisputed World's Strongest Man is everything for strength athletes. You know, even guys who compete in weightlifting and powerlifting, you know, they still kind of look at that World's Strongest Man title and wish it was them. You know, and that's a big thing. And it's not just the kind of like kudos that comes with it. It's more the sense of achievement that how many years you've put in, because, you know, strength doesn't come easy. You know, it takes a long time to develop. It costs a lot of money to develop if you account for all the food we have to eat and the hard times you have to endure. And you know, it's more of a, I see it as more of a getting that World's Strongest Man title is like a realisation of all your hard work and effort over the years.
Wow. So for a normal person who's looking at World's Strongest Man, what if they were looking to get into competing it? What would they have to go through to get to the highest of levels?
I think for me, I always say this before, is about taking their time. Too many people come in and try and win World's Strongest Man within a couple of years, and look, that just doesn't happen. You know, it takes years of dedication and hard work. But the first stage is to find somewhere. If you're in the UK or the US, you're very lucky because there's a lot of gyms out there that have access to strongman equipment. You know, your log presses, your Atlas stones, axles. Just go there, find those gyms, and I think the most important thing is to get your technique nailed down early doors on these movements. You know, when I started out, I'd beat a lot of guys not because I was stronger than them, but because I was more efficient at the lifts, and that seems to be lost. I think everyone just wants to grip it and rip it, as opposed to taking their time and working out the finer details of each lift and becoming so efficient that it becomes easy.
And for someone who is outside of the sport, in terms of becoming successful, which I would say you are in your sport, you're quite successful, how would someone go about it, formulating a day, formulating a plan to sort of get to that place?
I guess for me, my whole day is based around making myself better. So I like to start the day and have a plan of things I'm going to do that are going to make me a better strongman. At the end of the day, I'll reflect back on that and go, okay, yeah, I've done everything today. You know, whether it's eating all my meals, having a good solid training session, a second solid training session, or doing my recovery work. I've done my 3 different recovery modalities. All these things are going to make me better and one step closer to my goal. It's the same for anyone if for their goals, whether it's, you know, a business goal or a performance goal in any other way, is make sure that everything you're doing during your day is focused towards making you a better person and get a step closer to the goal. You don't need dead time on Netflix watching crappy documentaries when you could be making sure you're getting better. You know, make sure you're the hardest worker in the room every time. Make sure you're getting ahead of your competitors. That's what I think about. You know, I think, right, there's no way these other guys who I'm competing against are doing what I'm doing now, which puts me in a really powerful position. You know, I'm getting ahead of everyone who I'm competing against.
Do you compete with people in your head then? Like, you know, like, can you visualise them on the other side of the world, whoever it might be?
Yeah, I'll write names down on my whiteboard. I'll focus, you know, I'll also create like hate towards people that I've never hated before, you know? It's very powerful. Like, I'll happily say that when we were working towards Britain's Strongest Man this year, I basically just wrote down on my wall the Stoltmans. You know, they were the closest competitors. I just built this thing about, you know, being against both of them. They were teaming up on me, you know, and it was completely false because I'm great friends with both of them. But in my head, I needed that to push me in those kind of deep sets where I'm doing multiple reps, or late night sessions where I'm tired, I want to go to bed. I can just look at that and see that's what I'm working towards. And that kind of, you know, false anger that I had towards an image or those people was what drove me. So
I mean, late nights, early mornings, forced meals. In terms of like sacrifices, what has it taken?
Oh, it's a huge amount of sacrifice. I'm an incredibly selfish person. I know that. I don't speak to my university friends or my other friends outside of Strongman as much as I should. I'm very lucky that my partner Amy is nearly as selfish as I am. She's focused on her business. She's focused on her triathlon. She does Ironmans, so she knows what it's like. And it's important that I have someone who understands what it takes to compete at the high level, because otherwise, I mean, it wouldn't be in a relationship. But yeah, I'm not socialising with my friends. I'm not drinking at the weekend. I'm not skipping meals. If I have to go out somewhere, I have to plan ahead to make sure I'm taking food with me and know when I'm going to be able to train and do all these things. I'm terrible with like keeping in touch with people, just because I'm always training and I'm always just focused on those events. So yeah, I'm a nightmare to plan holidays with as well, because Amy will try and book us on a holiday and I'm like, nah, I'm sorry, we don't know when Worlds is yet, so we can't book anything until we know. So yeah, it's a lot of sacrifice, and I'm very fortunate I've got someone in the house with me who understands that.
For people who feel like they can't sacrifice, I mean, I see this a lot online. Like, I've already given up this, I've already given up that. I get up early. Like, when it's that extra step, like, what do people need to do? What's your advice to those people?
I think they need to reevaluate their goals and really work out whether what they're working towards is actually what they want. Because I can't imagine, and it's fine, I'm not saying, for example, I don't have children and we're not having children. Another sacrifice, I guess, but I understand it when people say they've got a family and they need to support that family, and that's fantastic, but don't say that you're fully committed to one thing if you've obviously got other things on that you are committed to as well. And you have to take a step back and go, okay, am I really going to achieve my goals if I'm actually not applying myself fully to it? So that I had to do, I was working full time in a great job that I loved, but suddenly I'd hate to be looking back on my career in 10 years' time and realising that I didn't fully commit to Strongman because I was, enjoyed working at another profession. I'd hate for that to be the reason, and that I was too scared to take the plunge and go full time with it. And it's something I had to do, even though it was a great job, one of the ones I really enjoyed. I had to kind of pull the plug on it to really kind of feed my passion and obsession with World's Strongest Man.